Today on Let's Talk About It, we're going to talk about the fear of other people's opinions, and our guest will be Micah Marshall. Friends, I don't know where you're at today. I don't know where you're at this week or this month or this year. Maybe I actually had a friend the other day say, oh my goodness, I need for this month to be over. And you know, sometimes we get in that place that, oh, we need this day to be over. We need this month to be over. We need this year to be over. I'm finding in my life, the older I get, because you do learn a few things as you get older, I am learning more and more. Just take the next right step. The next right step. Now, I am making sure that I'm in the Word every day. And I think at this season of my life, I'm praying more than I ever have. And I've prayed a lot in my life, but I love having that real close relationship with the Father. It is so important for you to do what is right in your life, but there's no way for you to know exactly what the next right step is unless you're connecting with the Father. If you need help with that, any of us, Kelly, Teresa, or I, would be so happy to help you. You can contact us on Facebook. Let's face it, a lot of you have our cell phone numbers. Let us know if you need help. We want to help you. I don't want you to wake up every day and think, oh, I can't wait to get to the end of this day. Because you miss a lot when you're not fully present. And God, honestly, can help you be fully present. Jesus was a perfect example of being fully present in his life. And he went through a lot of hard stuff. So, I just want you to have a good relationship with Jesus. Be close to him. Be aware of his presence in your life. We're just three women with big opinions, all backed by a biblical standpoint. Let's talk about it.
This segment is brought to you by Harry's Construction, whose motto is, if you can dream it, we can create it. They are the kitchen and bath design experts, so call Harry's Construction for all your remodeling needs. Impact Productions, a multi-layer technology company providing on-site, online, and in-studio video services. Contact Impact Productions to capture your story.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. We have an interesting discussion to have. Fear of other people's opinions.
FOPO.
FOPO. I learned something new today,
yeah,
definitely.
Me too.
Do you care what other people think?
Probably not enough.
Oh,
For me.
interesting.
Probably not.
Okay. How'd you get to that point? Or have you always been that way?
I think I've always been like that
Okay.
and need to learn to fall more on the other direction.
Well, or just pay attention to what is true. I mean, if somebody's doing something in love, that's a whole different feeling than if somebody's just being critical or, you know.
Yeah. It's just, even just recently, I had someone, they acted very boisterous and a little much when they saw someone at our picnic.
Okay.
And my response was like, oh my goodness, like, why are you acting like that? I feel like I was just being truthful because it was over the top,
Okay.
but it hurt the person's feelings that I
Okay.
said it out loud.
Okay.
But here, to me, I'm just being real and truthful. Like,
I would have totally, my feelings would have been hurt, but you would have never known it. Never. You would not have known it. I wouldn't have said
that's
it.
hard for me. 'Cause
I
I'm just
wouldn't have said it. I wouldn't have, I would have just stewed.
I think there's a difference between fearing and caring. Fearing and caring. I think we should care a little bit about how we present ourselves and how we come across to people. Haters are always going to be haters.
Right.
That's never going to change. I think what I care about is if I do something as hokey or cliche as it might sound, if I make God look bad because of my actions, that I care deeply about.
Absolutely.
And I care deeply because I'm a people person. I do care about hurting other people's feelings.
And see, for me though, even like in that moment, I wasn't trying to hurt the person's feelings. That was not my intention.
Right.
It is just immediately what I thought, and then
And
it
it
came
came
out.
out. Right. Right. Don't you think that the church, that we can be very opinionated about things and impose that opinion, not necessarily that is biblical, you know? A friend of mine has tattoos, and somebody approached my friend and said, you know, God hates that. Well, no, actually that's not true. No, God hates your attitude, you know? God, yeah. Oh,
I read a thing that says humans are somewhat tribal. And back in prehistoric times, tribes were very important for survival, for physical survival. You had to be part of a tribe. If you got kicked out of a tribe, it could be your demise. You could
gosh,
die.
that's, yeah.
And we are still a tribal people, but not for physical survival, but for companionship, stimulation, entertainment. Therefore, we care. Because if other people's opinions are against us, then we're kind of not part of the tribe. And I can kind of
That's
relate.
interesting.
I thought that was very, very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
When we allow this fear of what other people think, though, if it consumes us, then it will distract us from what God has called us to do, because it will stop us in our tracks because we're so worried about what other people will think or say if we go down that road, or if we pursue this, or if we, go and do something when we don't have the financial means or the smarts to do it. But God has called us to do, and so we cannot let those fears overcome what God has asked us to do. And that's a big thing that I want to bring up.
Jeremiah was a perfect example of that, because he said to the Lord, if I say and do this, they are coming after me. And God told him, don't worry.
Wow.
Don't worry. Jeremiah cared about what other people thought.
Yeah. Yeah, he did.
He did.
Yes, he did.
But he still was obedient. And that
Right.
one just came to me. But I was like praying, Lord, give me someone in the Bible who cared what other people thought. And immediately it was like Peter cared. He cared, and that's why he denied Christ 3
It's
times.
true.
He cared. So yeah, there you have it. Nobody's perfect, but my goodness, Peter cared.
That's a really good example, too, because of the denial.
Right.
Yeah.
He wanted to fit in.
Right.
Yes.
It was
wanted
more
to fit
important
in.
in that moment.
Yes. Yes. And honestly, when I was a young pastor's wife, I cared a great deal about what people thought, whether it was what I wore, how I did my kids, how I taught a Sunday school class, everything. And I realize now that I lost something of myself
Yeah.
in that trying to conform to what other people thought I should be. And some of it, I think maybe was not so much said as, oh gosh, I have a big guilt complex. So I may think you're thinking something, I am imposing what I think you're thinking on myself, which is
Right.
crazy.
Right.
But we do it. We do.
But
I do think if we care too much about the things that are not worth caring about, we can lose part of who we are.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think it's like you said, we do care. We have to have some kind of care.
Yes.
Or we would be just horrible people.
Yes.
But always go back to the source that it's coming from too. Like, is this someone who loves you and cares about you?
Yeah.
You can take it a lot differently than someone you have no relationship with and they're spewing whatever. So consider the source.
And I think too, if we have an opinion about something, how we say it is very important. All things in love. And what does love sound like coming out of my mouth?
I struggle with that because I just say it and I'm not even meaning it to sound rude. I really am not, but it comes across to people as
People are perceiving it as rude.
And I'm like, but
Yes.
that is not even how I meant it to be.
But it would be interesting. I would hate for someone to do this to me, to record me in an argument or something. John, if you're watching, don't even.
Yeah. No.
But it would be interesting how I come across, because what I'm hearing is my inner voice. What they're hearing is what's actually coming out.
Right.
Which can be two different things.
And we can't control how they perceive it.
That's exactly right.
We can only control how we respond. And that's a hard thing.
It is.
It is.
It is. Yeah, gosh, that's tough.
Yeah.
It is tough.
And, I mean, I know in dealing with family situations, sometimes I've just had to bite my tongue.
And be quiet.
And I don't have that skill.
You will get it. You will get it. Don't
Honestly,
you think?
it only comes with practice. I mean,
The older I get, I get a little better.
I make it, I try to only deal with the things that matter. I try to. I'm not saying that I don't say just things, but I try to, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Is this worth it?
Yes.
And there's part of me, though, too, I wish people could understand that I'm not actually trying to be mean or hurtful.
Right,
I
right.
just wish people saw that side. Like, it's not coming from
Right.
all the time this hateful place.
But if that is the way it is frequently
Right.
perceived,
Right, then I need to
then you
look
need
at
to
how
step
I
back and say, okay, this is sounding a certain way
Right.
to more than one person.
Right, absolutely.
So I need to adjust my tone of voice.
Right.
My girls used to say to John, Dad, you've got a tone. And it helped him because he didn't mean it anyway, but he could take a tone.
Yeah.
And if they would say, oh, you've got that tone, they would know. He would know what they meant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's just a verse that I found, Proverbs 29:25. It states, "The fear of man lays a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is safe." So it's about just getting our eyes back on him.
Friends, we want you to trust in the Lord. Value his opinion over every other. And Kelly doesn't mean it.
I don't.
Mean it. We are just three women. We tell you all the time, with big opinions, backed by a biblical standpoint. We're just people. And next, we'll have our guest for the day.
Next week on Man Up, our guest will be Pastor Michael Blackie, and we'll talk about deception.
Part of what we do is we call community agency engagement. And so we're trying to get the community involved with each individual agency. And part of that that's lacking has been just this this connection between them and the agency and those who are in it. So we thought, why not do the best thing that we can possibly do, and that's prayer.
All that and more on Man Up.
Generations, Dick's Home Care has been providing the best equipment and service for patient care at home. Disabled? Lead an active life with a wheelchair from Dick's Home Care. Your wheelchair will be properly fitted to you for your comfort. Choose from Dick's full line of mobility products, including manual wheelchairs, custom manual, power wheelchairs, and scooters for both adults and children. Call the leader in home medical equipment, Dick's Home Care.
Welcome back to Let's Talk About It. It is my privilege today to have our friend Micah with us. And a lot of our viewers know you, Micah, but would you please just introduce yourself to anybody that doesn't know you?
My name is Micah Marshall. I'm the director of Refuge Youth Network, which is a local nonprofit here that works with several churches in the area and also works with several other youth organizations in the area. But been here 14 years and it's become home and absolutely love it.
14 years.
14 years this year, yep.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That really is saying something, Micah.
Yeah, because it's
really
very unusual.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And your presence in the community is noted, felt, and appreciated.
Well, thank you. Thank
we
you
want
for
you
that.
to know
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, we love where we're at. You know, I was talking with someone recently and we talked about how when God puts you exactly where he wants you to be, nothing else can move you from that. And so knowing that you're where you're meant to be, doing what you're meant to do is an amazing thing. And I just have that privilege to know that, to acknowledge that, to honor that. And Bethany and I just love being a part of Blair County. We love everything that God's doing in the community. And it's just a privilege to know people and to serve.
And you are drawing in new people to work with Refuge,
Yes.
which I really appreciate.
Yes.
You know, you're not saying, kids, go to college and get out of here.
Yeah.
You're drawing people in, which I appreciate. And we actually brought you in today to talk to us about ministering to Gen Z.
Yeah.
And I know that I have been through your class, your parenting Gen Z class, and I loved it.
Oh, the ministry you just did was amazing.
I was shocked by just about everything.
Yeah,
you
the
said, but-
statistics.
Yeah. But Micah, tell everybody the age group because
Yeah.
when you've
Yes.
been teaching this for a while, I didn't even know what age group
Yeah.
that was.
So-
I just knew they were aliens in my world.
Yeah, that's actually, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Aliens among us, right?
Yeah.
But there is, so when we look at it, Gen Alpha, which is the youngest generation, we're talking 12 and under, and we're talking about Gen Z, we're talking about 12 and over. So you'll have anything from a preteen to a mid-teen to a young adult that we're talking about with Gen Z. So that whole time frame is what we're there. Because you can look it up and Google will tell you one thing, you can ask Siri, she's gonna tell you nothing. So we just kind of look at that rough 12 and under, Gen Alpha, 12 and over would be your Gen Zers that you're working with. So if you're working with any type of middle school or upper elementary, high school, college, young adult, that's the whole demographic of Gen Z.
They fall into
They
that.
fall in that,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So one of the statistics he gave, I'm just still mind boggled over. Like the statistic that you gave for the Gen Zs that are on medicine or on what? Share that.
Yeah, so Gen Z is the highest medicated generation the world has ever seen, specifically for anxiety and depression.
Oh, you're not talking ADD and ADHD
No.
meds.
We're simply talking anxiety and depression. They have the highest rate of medicine for that demographic of that group that the world has ever seen. So this is not just a United States problem. This is across the world that they have ever seen. So when you're looking at it, you really have about 8 out of 10 that are going to be struggling with anxiety on some level, if not diagnosed, dealing with those levels out of 10.
But
that
why?
you're going to deal with it. Well, because there's so much social pressure on them. And there is an amount of pressure on them that our culture is forcing on them and that they're having to walk through that none of us had to walk through. Not even myself. I didn't have to walk through the social pressures that they're dealing with, from simply bullying where, you used to go to school and you get bullied, then you go home and it's gone. It's not like that anymore. There's all the pressure. Then the pressure to be accepted by not just your friends, but by social media. Everything you're posting, getting the likes, getting the retweets, getting the reposts, everything like that. And so there's this drive in them that has caused them to have a desire to be wanted, to be accepted constantly and consistently. And so what that builds up, well, if I post a picture on my Instagram and nobody likes it, well, then man, I must be ugly, I must be horrible, I must not be valued, I must not have.
Goodness.
And so we go through this cycle of what is happening. And so a lot of what we do with our ministry is bringing an awareness to that. That it's not about the likes. It's not about any of that. You don't need to be liked when you've already been loved by a Savior. And that's the major thing that we try to teach them. But yeah, it continually graduates to more and more kids are struggling with this on a consistent basis.
Right. So the number will most likely get worse.
Get worse.
Yes.
For this
So
younger.
how do you get in a world of social media?
Yeah.
How do you get them to listen to you
Yeah.
for 20 minutes?
Well,
or
share that statistic about how.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
these statistics are just.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the average attention span of a Gen Z and Gen Alpha right now are 8 seconds or less. And that is actually less than a goldfish. A goldfish
Wait.
has a higher attention
are you
span.
8 seconds?
8 seconds. 8 seconds. And this was actually put out by Microsoft. And so Microsoft put out this study of what the attention span is of the average young adult, which would be a Gen Zer, and it's an 8-second attention span. Now, what we have to understand with that, what that means is that it's not really, I would say, an attention span, it's more of an attention filter.
Okay.
That we have to get their attention, or whatever you're projecting, communicating, talking about, you have to be able to get through that 8-second filter to make sure what you are communicating is the most important thing in that moment. So the two key factors are in communicating is be concise and visual.
Okay.
So being as concise as you can and being as visual as you can, because we won't always remember what we're hearing, but we can remember what we see. And so that's such an important factor for their attention, is that we are zoning in on that being concise and visual. But that eight seconds, that's what you get. You get 8 seconds
Isn't that
because there's so much information. It's an information overload. So the 8-second filter is more of a protection mechanism in their mind so that they don't overload with all the amount of information that's available.
I hear this stuff and I almost feel like, don't get me wrong when I say evolving, I don't mean like we evolved from monkeys, but I mean our body evolves to contend with outside stimuli and everything else. And that's what my vision is. I remembered the photo that you had of the silhouette of somebody's head with a million things coming in, like a freight train. And you do have to protect yourself from that.
Yeah.
Your brain has to evolve to be able to handle all of that information. Which therefore I feel like the anxiety is another protection that your body is protecting itself somehow from all of that.
Honestly, that grieves my heart.
Yeah.
That
Well,
it's
we're not
so
meant to be.
hard for them.
And we're not meant to be programmed that way. We're not meant to be programmed with so much information that it overloads our mind and overloads what we do. And so there has to be healthy mechanisms that we can teach them to be able to evolve that. And that's where the Bible comes into play. It comes into play where it says capture every thought that goes through your mind and surrendering it to God to making sure. And so being able to say, hey, that filter can be done in a spiritual sense, where we're hoping that the message of Jesus, the message of what we're preaching and teaching, the truth of the Bible is the most concise thing that we have. It's the most applicable thing that we have. So making sure that that's something that can connect with them. So how we communicate that to them is super important. I'm not going to get up and lecture for 45 minutes about a scripture verse. What I need to do is make sure that it's concise, it's visual, and that the information that I'm relaying can connect with them in a very instantaneous level and mindset with what we're doing.
Okay, so when you did that I've really been avoiding it because I was like, I don't want to sit there and be told how I have to change my ways for a bunch of kids who I feel are disrespectful now and nobody has any work ethic and you want me to change. But I have to say, it did kind of get me turned around a little bit. It made me feel sad for them, a little bit more compassionate. But my question to you, where did you get to that point where you had to learn about Gen Z and who taught you?
Well, I think for me, I've been working full-time youth ministry 15 years.
Did you get to a place where you're like, I don't know what
I think I get to a place where I'm confused about how they process things, how they communicate certain things. But because I'm in their world, I can ask them freely, what's going on? Why are you thinking this way? What's happening?
Because you love them.
Because I love them.
Yeah.
And so the process is learning from them. I hope that I learn just as much from them as they do from me or the whole team that we have. But the biggest thing is getting other generations to understand that you can't force people to change, and they're here regardless of if you want them to be or
That's
not.
Right.
So we can either be against them or we can be for them.
There's value in that.
Absolutely. And so what we need to do
We want to be for them.
yeah, we want to walk with them, and that's what they need. That's what they need more than anything. Is this younger generation is so hungry for authentic friendships and relationship. What greater thing do we have to introduce them to than the most authentic relationship that can be found, and that's through Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that's what we need to do. But I've done it just by learning and living with them and ministering to them for the last several years.
Yeah.
Micah, tell our viewers what campuses that kids can check into.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are in Blair County, if you live in Blair County, Sunday nights in Tyrone at Community Worship Center at 6:30. Monday nights at New Life Worship Center, that's our Bellwood campus, at 6:30. Tuesday nights in Hollidaysburg at Journey Church at 6:30. Wednesday nights in Altoona at Transformation Church at 6:30. And then hopefully within the next few months, we'll be opening our next campus, which will be in Martinsburg, which we're really excited about. And so we're working on that with the Martinsburg churches in the Cove to get that campus launched and ready to go.
Awesome.
Yes.
Friends, get your kids hooked up with Refuge Youth Network.
Absolutely.
They will be loved, and they will learn who loves them. Next, we'll have your tip for the day.
When it's time for a new roof, Champion Roofing is your best choice. We're a certified award-winning roofing contractor, meaning your roof is done right the first time. Call today.
Champion Roofing, we're the solution.
Next week on Let's Talk About It, we will discuss things that are connected to witchcraft, and then later we will have Mandy Dennis join us to share her testimony with her marriage.
I went up there because I was having some heart issues at the time. When I got up there, he didn't even touch on heart issues at all. He spoke over me how, men have been in my life and just how hard of a time I've been having. And so that kind of, really opened it up. And
all that and more on Let's Talk About It.
I had a really good tip for today, but I'm going to save it for another time because my friend Larry gave me a great tip today. How many times have you put something in the refrigerator wanting to take it somewhere with you and you forget it and leave it in the refrigerator? I'm telling you, I do it all the time. Well, my friend told me today, all you have to do is put your car keys with what you want to take, and you will never forget it. Friends, I put my lunch in the refrigerator so I can take it home for supper, and my car keys are in the refrigerator right now, and I'm not going to forget to take my lunch. I think that is such a great tip, and I thank Larry for that. We look forward to you joining us next time for Let's Talk About It.